Probably one of the most famous buildings at Mordecai Historic Park is the birthplace of Andrew Johnson, the 17th President of the United States. Moved here in 1975, this building was originally located about a block away from the Capitol building in downtown Raleigh. We believe it served as a kitchen for a local tavern called Casso's Inn, which is one of the earliest inns in this new city of Raleigh, opening in 1795. Oral tradition suggests that Andrew Johnson's father and perhaps his mother worked for the inn, allowing them to live upstairs with Andrew and his older brother. Andrew Johnson was born in 1808 as the third child to a very poor family here in Raleigh. And unfortunately for Andrew, his father passed away when he was only 3 years old, leaving them even more destitute. But at the age of 14, his mother had him apprenticed to a tailor, a very common practice at the time. This meant that he would work without pay until the age of 21. However, he was provided with food, room, and board, and was taught an occupation that he could eventually use. However, within a few short years, Andrew grew restless with his situation, and he and his brother decided to run away. The tailor even put out a $10 reward for his capture and return. Eventually, Andrew ends up in Tennessee, where he opens up his own tailor shop. This is where he met and married his eventual wife, Eliza, who would teach him how to read and write. It was his wife that encouraged him to enter politics. He was elected mayor of his city, then elected to the House of Representatives, and then governor, and eventually Andrew Johnson became the senator from Tennessee. Soon after, the Civil War broke out, and Andrew Johnson was the only Southern senator to stay with the North when the South seceded. Even though he supported slavery, he was a staunch Unionist and didn't believe in breaking up the country. This really impressed Abraham Lincoln, and when time came for him to run for re-election, he chose Andrew Johnson, a Southerner, as his running mate in an attempt to bring the country back together. Unfortunately for everyone, a few weeks after starting his second term, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And Andrew Johnson, a Southerner, became President of the United States immediately following the end of the Civil War. As you can imagine, this does not go over well in the country. The Northerners didn't trust him because he came from the South, and the Southerners didn't trust him because he sided with the North during the Civil War. Attacked on all sides, Andrew Johnson became our first president to ever be impeached in the United States. In the end, he was saved from being removed from office by one vote and would finish out his term before returning to Tennessee. Unfortunately, Andrew Johnson is often not considered to be one of our most impressive presidents. However, we still claim him as our own. I think my favorite part of his story is about where he came from. One of the reasons that both he and Abraham Lincoln got along so well is that they really both came from nothing and rose to the highest position in our country. It just goes to show that truly anyone can become president. This is just one of the historic buildings that was moved to this location as the city was building out the historic park. If you'd like to learn more about his history, please feel free to come out and take a tour of the property.
One evening, while investigating the birthplace of Andrew Johnson, a former Ghost Guild member captured something interesting. While he was investigating the Andrew Johnson house, he had his spirit box going. The spirit box scans through radio stations. Now, you have to be cautious because you will pick up bits and a former Ghost Guild member captured something interesting. While he was investigating the Andrew Johnson house, he had his spirit box going. The spirit box scans through radio stations. Now, you have to be cautious because you will pick up bits and pieces of radio station, and because of auditory pareidolia, your brain is going to automatically try to make sense of what you're hearing. Now, if someone asks a question and you get a response through the spirit box, you have to be very careful to not just assume that it's something paranormal coming through. Now, on this occasion, the response that he got to a question that was asked was enough syllables that it made us pause. You sometimes hear bits and clips, and you might be able to capture a word or two, but this was several words strung together with the same vocal tone and quality throughout the entire sentence. During the evening, when he played me this clip, the question was asked, "Were you ever alive?" As I listened to the response in the headphones, I heard a very specific response. But before I tell you what I heard, we want to play you that clip and see what you get from it.
Were you ever alive?
Let's play that clip one more time.
Were you ever alive?
Now that you've had the opportunity to listen to the clip a couple of times, feel free to comment below with what you think you heard. For myself, when I heard the question, "Were you ever alive?" the response I hear is, "Yeah, I was alive." Let's play it again, and now let's see if you hear what I heard.
Were you ever alive?
Ever alive.
Going back to our earlier conversation about audio pareidolia, the reason you might have heard what I just said now is because your brain, again, automatically is going to try to make sense of what the clip sounds like, and because I gave you a cue as to what I heard, your brain might automatically then hear that same response.
I'm standing in front of Andrew Johnson's birthplace, and we've had a few interesting things happen here. Out of all of them, I'd say that the most interesting one is the one that we're about to share with you. Now, when this occurred, we had 3 people inside the building. There's 2 former team members and the docent from Mordecai Historic Park. Now, in this clip, you'll see that 2 are sitting on the floor and 1 is standing with a recorder in his hand. The video you'll watch was captured by one of the stationary cameras that we had in the corner of the building, whereas the audio was captured by a recorder that was left running during the entire session. Now, what they're doing is known by many as an EVP burst session, which is the process of using a recorder, asking a question, waiting a few seconds, and then playing the recording to see if it contains a response to the question that was asked. You'll see the person standing play the recording, then you'll hear him sigh in disappointment, basically because he heard no response. But then you hear something else. Take a listen.
What's your favorite thing in the world?
Did you hear it? Now, if you didn't, we'll replay it again. But before we do that, we want to note that we have a strong etiquette for tagging sounds heard during an investigation. Now, whether it be airplanes, motorcycles, animals, bodily functions, movement, literally any sound heard, so to reduce the likelihood of falsely interpreting them as potentially paranormal in nature when we later review the data. Now, no one tagged this sound, and no one recalls hearing the humming at all at the time. We still don't know where the sound came from. One thought was that it might have come from outside. However, the ambient sound recorder that was placed outside of the building didn't capture the sound, which leads us to believe that it came from inside the building. Here it is again.
What's your favorite thing in the world?
That's what we're gonna do, so I understand why that changed.
What's up?
You are live.
Okay, we're live. All right, it's Nick here again with Jenny. We are currently continuing our investigation in the Andrew Johnson's presumed birthplace.
We brought a REM pad with us, REM pod, with us, so, you know, something, we get any energy here tonight. Hopefully that will light up. We'll see if it does.
And we also have something over there as well. Correct?
Same
On the
thing.
steps?
Same
Thing, only different.
Yeah. So are there any spirits in here with us tonight? On a side note, if you all see us looking at our phones, please understand we're just looking for your questions, not trying to be unprofessional. Also, some of you have asked us if we could touch things in the room, and we're not allowed to do that. So just so you know, we're not ignoring your question, we're just not allowed to touch any of the stuff on the tables or whatnot. Okay, is there anyone in here with us tonight? Can you make a sound, please?
Oh geez, where are my manners? I'm sorry, my name's Nick. What's your name? There's a car's exhaust in the background. So we've heard people humming in here before. Can you tell me who that was, or can you do that again for us, please? It's another motorcycle in the background. It's a pretty cramped space. I don't know if you're too happy with us being in here, invading your space like this. If not, can you let us know?
Question for Andrew Johnson. Homeschoolers Rock would like to know if you helped save Raleigh from being burned by the Union. If that's yes, will you make a tapping noise, please, or a knocking noise? If that's a no, will you do the same thing? Make a tapping noise. As I understand it, there's someone in this room that in previous investigations has mentioned that they are from Philadelphia. Is that gentleman here tonight? If so, will you please make a noise?
There's a car driving by.
The gentleman from Philadelphia, will you please light up one of our machines here and let us know you're here? I have one on the floor, I have one behind me on the stairs.
V. Stober asks if it's sometimes hard to differentiate noises from outside environment. Yes, it is. It's always, we actually run voice recorders, set 3 of them outside, kind of in a triangle, so that when we listen to our audio later, if there's any noises that we heard and didn't know if it came from inside or out, we can listen to those recorders later to try to cross-reference our own recordings. Actually, one of the hardest noises we have to differentiate between, you know, is it something natural or something paranormal, is our own bodily functions. Like our stomachs, especially this time of night, we're drinking coffee and eating junk food and our stomachs start making noises, and sometimes that can sound like growling or just somebody making a noise. It's funny at the time, but it's frustrating. On another investigation we did outside of Charlotte, we could actually hear wildcats or bobcats, and those, if you ever heard of wildcat, it sounds like a woman screaming in the woods. It's quite terrifying. If I start humming, will you hum along with me? My humming is pretty atrocious. I wouldn't want to hum with me either.
Gives you an idea, though. Maybe you can hum a different song. I'll dance for you. How about that?
Another question from the chat. How much was a pair of pants in your day? That is a motorcycle in the background. Lots of traffic tonight.
My guess is you made all your own clothes. Is that true?
This is the presumed birthplace of Andrew Johnson. However, I don't believe he is one of the spirits that are here, as he didn't spend a lot of time here. He didn't die here, so I don't see why his spirit would be here. Of course, I could be wrong.
And this building was moved here from somewhere else.
Correct, it used to be downtown on Fayetteville Street. So that's another thing, is this location is not the original location. However, this land, again, was a plantation and has a lot of history involved with it. So the land itself, this area, as I said, has a lot of history. So whatever we collected here may not necessarily be associated with the house itself. Hard to tell.
Since we cannot always hear your responses, if there's someone here, would you please make some kind of noise? It could be any noise you choose. Knocking is usually the easiest, but whatever you choose would help. since we cannot always hear your voice. Could do something. Oh, that's in hardwood. That's a little better. Something like that.
Perhaps all the spirits are getting their own spirits at Isaac Hunter's Tavern. What are your thoughts on that?
Were there any Halloween celebrations here when you lived here with the children? Are you proof that spirits can still exist and be here and be active in the home you used to live in after death?
That was Nick making a noise, sorry.
It's okay.
So we've heard the word Philadelphia in here. What's so important about Philadelphia? Is Nick moving?
I'm gonna move this REM pod off the stairs out into the room. It's doing that because I'm touching it.
Ooh, that's loud.
It is very loud. I don't know if that will make any difference, but if someone would try and light that up, it won't hurt you.
Anybody hearing me right now? I don't know if you're a child, a slave, a warrior, geez, Nick, a soldier.
Close enough.
Heck, maybe you are a warrior, who knows? Any message you want to get across to us, if there's anything on your mind, we're here to listen.
So who did live in this house? That's weird.
I think that was
There's a phone ringing.
yeah, someone's phone rang outside.
Sorry, no spirits, just a phone.
It's a good example of why you have to be careful with some of this equipment that's sold specifically for ghost hunting. You don't fully understand how this stuff works. Things that they don't advertise or tell you that it can set it off will set it off. You really have to do your due diligence on this stuff.
Somebody thinks the floor has a trap door.
About 1 minute left before we intermission and go to St. Mark's Chapel.
Mary Johnson, are you here?
I see what you mean. It looks like it could have been, but no. That is not a trap door. do you think, Nick?
I don't know. I guess this is the original floor, isn't it?
I mean, I see how it kind of looks that way, but up close, no.
People in the chat saying there's a grave underneath here. I don't know how true that is. It'd be interesting to research that. I don't know why they would put they would move a house and put it on top of a known grave.
Happens all the time.
It's true.
Hadn't heard that, but not to say it's not true.
Be really interesting if it was. It's pretty quiet in here tonight, unfortunately. Of course, you never know what you'll get on the equipment when you go back and listen to it. Had some really quiet nights, and then you go back and listen to the audio, and there's all kinds of noises and voices that you didn't hear at the time. So you just never know. That's what they don't show you on the TV shows. You run 5 cameras for 8 hours. It's 40 hours of video you gotta watch at home. You know, we have normal jobs that we have to go to work to, and we have to do that all in our spare time. It's a lot of work to do this right. I bet it was a lot of work to do anything right.